Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back to do another video, an initial analysis of the Steelers. Unfortunately, blowout 33-3, disaster of a loss week 1 to New England in Foxborough, and I picked New England to win this game, but I don't think anyone, New England or Steeler fan, could have expected a 30-point just absolute rout the Patriots laid down on the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll try to keep this video relatively short because it's kind of obvious what happened, what went wrong, everything, and B, I'm sure you probably don't want to listen to a 20-minute video explaining exactly why everything went wrong. That we'll have the podcast Monday morning on SteelersDepot.com that'll delve into all the crap that was Foxborough on Sunday night. But we'll go through things position group by position group, as always, with the quarterback play. Obviously Ben was not at his most sharp. Receivers did not help him. When you look back at this game, certainly Ben would not be one of the first guys you would point to, but I don't know if he made any particularly great plays that helped rally or overcome his receivers either. There were a couple deep balls downfield that missed. I don't think he was particularly sharp. Again, not in the list of top 5 guys you worry about from that game. And obviously he's Ben, he'll bounce back, but not a great showing from him, but obviously not a great showing from really anybody that took the field in black and gold on Sunday night. With the running game, it was so hard to try to even to gauge it and establish it in the first place. You get behind the game pretty early. By the early second half, it's whatever it was, 27-3, and by that point you're throwing the run game out the window. I thought James Conner did a nice job as a receiver and ran tough as a runner. Jalen Samuels looked basically the same from last year. I know he has slimmed down, got a little bit more burst, but just not a whole lot to go off of there. Offensive line, to go to them, I thought it was okay. They gave Ben decent protection. I thought Villanueva in particular struggled. Filer didn't seem to have the best game as a run blocker, but that's based on just a couple plays that stick out in mind. I know Danny Shelton beat him on I think a 3rd-and-1 dive play that stuffed it and forced the punt. With the receivers, I mean, you can go down the list there. Dante Moncrief, just a really terrible showing from him. 10 targets, 3 receptions, 7 yards. I know that he had that dislocated finger in training camp, and maybe that's still bothering him. I imagine that stuff isn't quick to heal, but obviously that can't be an excuse at this point, and this offense is just lacking juice. So really, I guess to take a better step back from this game, and let me take a break momentarily from looking at a position group by position group. I think it starts with the game plan that Randy Fichtner had, and I identified as the X factor in this game, the job both coordinators, Randy Fichtner and Keith Butler, would do. And both were terrible. Now, players didn't help. Players got to go out there and make plays. And the 3 or 4 drops that, for example, Dante Moncrief had certainly doesn't make any offensive coordinator look good. But I thought the issue was, you have that Week 15 victory last year, and you feel good about the game plan. And it was a good game plan for both coordinators. I'm very much critical of Keith Butler, but I thought Week 15 against the Pats last year was by far the best game plan and play calls that he had the entire season. So I was excited to see what he could build off this time around. Ditto with Randy Fichtner, and both really just copied and pasted their game plan from last year to this year, as if New England wouldn't adjust and go back to the lab and see what they did wrong last year. So it's like playing a team 2 times in the same year. You have to have a different game plan. The team that lost is always going to kind of have the upper hand because they can make more adjustments, and they're obviously going to change things while you as the victor are going, what do we change, what do we keep? But both men, Fichtner and Butler, kept the same things. Fichtner kept running those toss counter plays, the split zone action that didn't go anywhere, didn't have the speed to win the perimeter, and the Patriots could read that stuff and read the pulling guards and sniff those plays out pretty quickly, whereas Butler ran the same man-to-man concepts that he did before with probably less disguises and got picked apart because of that. So I thought, while Fichtner obviously has a lot of different challenges, and in losing AB, he's got to be as creative as possible to help scheme these guys open, and just felt like he did not do that. And it just felt like a copy-paste game plan with a worse personnel, obviously not having a guy like Antonio Brown, and you get a much worse result. So this offense only works when there's that really true vertical component, when receivers can get separation, and by and large, that did not happen on Sunday night, and that was my fear. And again, it's a super obvious point, but one I really wanted to try to impress upon people during the offseason, that everyone knew that you were going to miss Antonio Brown, that Antonio Brown was a great asset to this team, but you didn't know how much you would miss a guy like Antonio Brown. And while he was, a headache off the field, and you understand why he was traded, and we're not going to relitigate all of that, on the field for those couple hours each game day, game of the week. He's so valuable to your offense, and trying to replace him is such a monumental task. And clearly, Steelers is not in any position to do that right now. So I just thought globally the game plan didn't adjust to the new personnel that was in, and obviously players did not execute. Someone like Moncrief was just abysmal, and if this continues, then you're looking at someone like Deontay Johnson, who got a decent amount of snaps tonight. I'd say 10 to 15, showed a little bit of juice after the catch, and also just caught the football, which seems like a pretty important trait for a receiver to have. So if he continues to ascend, then he could really quickly siphon away snaps from Dante Moncrief. But yeah, Vance McDonald didn't get a target until 2 minutes left in the game. Then he kind of got three just garbage time ones. I mean, I don't know if they were specifically taking Vance away or whatever the case was. It was hard to see. We'll have to go back to the all-22. But how do you not get Vance involved at all? You're relying solely on Moncrief and Johnson and Switzer. And while I think Switzer has positive traits and I trust him a lot in the return game, what is he offering you as a receiver? I mean, this guy is just a glorified running back in a lot of aspects, and his stat line reflects that. 6 catches for 29 yards Sunday night. I mean, he's not offering anything after the catch, and while he can get open on some of those rubs and stuff like that, pretty much any receiver can do that. I mean, Deontay Johnson can do that. Anybody, a running back, and Jalen Samuels, any of those guys can get open when it's schemed like that. So I don't know what special element Switzer's giving you, and certainly not going to give you a after the catch, nor really a vertical element either. So two things that are pretty crucial to this offense. If you can't win vertical and you can't get stuff after the catch, what's your role? What are you doing? So Deontay Johnson might be a guy that you count on a lot more than I anticipated kind of, prior to this game, just because if other guys don't step up, you're going to just put someone new in there. James Washington did have the big 45-yard reception. Don't know why he drifted out of bounds. I don't think that's the first time he's done that. I tried to go back and find another instance where that happened. I could have swore I saw it in a preseason game or regular season game last year. If you remember a play that happened, let me know, because I swear I saw something like that last year where he kind of drifted out of bounds when he probably didn't need to, and I don't know what's up with that, but at least he made the one positive play offensively the whole night, unfortunately. But yeah, just a poor game plan, top to bottom, poor execution. Really not much more to say for that. But Vance McDonald getting no targets until the end of the game just baffles me. Defensively, we'll start with the brief positives. I thought the team finished strong. I like Cam Hayward's effort and hustle. I thought he played, first snap to last snap with the same intensity. No, that doesn't seem like much, but I think that is an important thing. This team didn't quit, and there's a little bit of solace taken for that, and something you can carry over to next week. You don't want any team that quits, in any game, especially this early in the season. That would be even a worse tone to set. Run defense did a nice job. Really weren't obviously asked to do a whole lot of that. Patriots did not run the ball often, but the run defense I thought did stuff it pretty well. Didn't allow too many big second level plays and stuff like that. So kudos to the front seven specifically for that. But unfortunately, everything else was pretty much a mess. No takeaways to Tom Brady. He's got 21 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in his career against Pittsburgh, playing in Gillette Stadium. You're not going to pressure him. You can't turn the football over. You can't confuse him. You're not beating Brady and the Patriots. It's as simple as that. Everybody knows it, and that did not happen. Well, you have to play a lot of man coverage against the Patriots. That's what the Steelers did last year in their victory. You can't play just man coverage. The key is not doing only one thing against Tom Brady, whether that's all zone, which the team's done in the past, or all man coverage, which the team did basically last time, but at least to open things up. Brady's going to figure that out. And again, similar game plan to last time. You knew that the Patriots knew that the Steelers were not playing the old school Dick LeBeau cover 3 tackle the catch. They were playing man heavy and stuff like that last year, and so the Patriots devised a ton of man beaters. And we have an article going up, or has gone up, on Monday morning that describes those man beaters and how the Patriots won. And the Steelers really didn't adjust, and there were blown coverages too that piled on top of that, whether that was the Josh Gordon touchdown for the first score, the Philip Dorsett touchdown for the one in the second half that I believe made it 27-3. So you had some youth getting shown. Cameron Kelly struggled in coverage. That was the key for Kelly. I thought he was almost, we talk about Devin Bush and his rookie debut. I mean, Cam Kelly, not a rookie technically, but his NFL debut, and him versus Brady with Edmonds, who I think can show improvement. Struggled Sunday night, but a guy I'm still excited about. But it's still those two guys versus the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. And, that's just a matchup that predictably Brady and company won. So miscommunications, some missed tackles in the open field, Kelly trying to go for kill shots, Edmonds trying to go for big hits instead of separating player from ball. Just kind of a mess across the board. So really just, again, it all goes back to me with Fichtner and Butler and the poor game plans that both of those guys showed. Then you add in Tomlin, and obviously, the buck stops with him and his decision to kick the field goal down 20-0 to make it 20-3 on the opening drive in the second half. Just inexcusable. What are you doing? I mean, you're just trying to play to make the score look a little less ugly there. It's still 17-point deficit, 3-score game. You're not coming back and by nickel and diming the Patriots. You're not going to win it in general that way, even if it was a close game, even if it was a scoreless game, let alone when you're trying to mount a 20-point comeback at halftime, which, by the way, the Steelers have never done before in their NFL history. They've been 0-33 historically in that, so you needed to really make some aggressive moves to have any chance of trying to mount a comeback and kick the field goal for a coach that does not live in his fears. That is certainly a scared decision in my book. So I understand his point about wanting to put points up and just have some positivity on a game where nothing was going your way, and if you don't get that, then it feels like a big gut punch. But I mean, no, you got to go for it there. I'm sorry. And then you had 4 failed, third or fourth and 1 or goal situations at the 1, including that play that led to the 4th and 1. I mean, how are you that bad in short yardage situations? This offense got off to a great start last year on the goal line, running power, punching it in the red zone. So to be that brutally bad to start is awful, unacceptable, and it's got to change. No one wins a game when your offense is that poor in those short area situations. They stall out drives, they force you to kick field goals and stuff like that. So just again, brutally unacceptable. I'm not saying you have to go 23 personnel and put in Rosie Nix. I know people clamor for that. I mean, I don't care really, that you have to do that, but I still prefer at least one running attempt in there. That's not a perimeter toss play like they tried to run. That was a 4-yard loss, but you gotta give me something. You gotta convert, and so that was abysmal. Special teams looked okay. Boswell made his 19-yard chip shot field goal. Not a whole lot to note there. Don't think there were any special teams penalties, which was good. I don't think there was. Someone would have yelled at me in my timeline about Danny Smith had there been one, but that's far down the bottom of the list of things to look at in that game. Now, I will say, obviously it's the loss, but a loss is a loss, no matter whether that's by 30 or 3. So you got Seattle coming to Heinz Field for the opener in Week 2. This team was in a pretty rough spot 2 weeks into last year. The tie against Cleveland, which was an ugly game the Steelers should have won. Then you have the loss against Kansas City Week 2, where you got down 21-0, and yes, you came back, but still you ultimately lost. So they started the season 0-1-1, and things looked bad. Then they picked it up and turned things around. So all is not lost. This was the hardest game you were going to play all year. You're playing at third place. A lot of young guys are going to mature. Washington, Deontay Johnson. You're going to adjust and kind of lick your wounds. So if there's a time to start slow, it's now, and you have a whole season to adjust and respond to that. It's a good, even more of a wake-up call. I'm sure people don't want to hear optimism right now, but that's just the honest truth. I think I gave you plenty of the negative and the bad. I don't think I've sugarcoated it to any degree. So here's some positive for you. This team's had poor starts before and come back. Last year is a good example of that. 1997 is another good example of that. I know people probably aren't caring about 97, but they lost to Dallas 37-7 in that game and finished the year 11-5 and went to the AFC title game. So it is possible. 1989, I think they were okay in 89. I should probably check that now, but someone can fact check me on that, or I can update a little bit later when they got blown up by Cleveland 51-0. I think they had a salvageable season, but you get my point. All it's not lost. At least the Cincinnati and Cleveland lost their opening games. Baltimore obviously trounced the Dolphins, but that was to be expected. But yeah, it's a tough opening portion of the schedule. You got Seattle at home. Seattle's going to be a tough team, even though they had their hands full with Cincinnati. Then you go to San Francisco, and then you play the Bengals, which I don't want to ever overlook or count out. I don't want to discount any AFC North foe, especially one that has a pretty good rivalry, the way the Steelers and Bengals do, that kind of hatred for each other. So you got to make these games count. I think the next 3 weeks you got to go at least 2-1 to get you to no worse than 2-2 to the start of the year, and then win your AFC North ball when that becomes pretty heavy around mid-ish season. I believe that's how the schedule goes out. So again, I don't want to say all hope is lost. Hopefully, have a different team next week, a bit of an easier opponent too, and then of course you're playing at home. But just a terrible opener. Really could not have gone any worse, and that's a pretty obvious statement to make, I think, here at this point. So probably a good sign to wrap up the video. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. If I did, let me know in the comments. Any questions you have, let me know. We'll talk about it on the podcast and cover this game. Unfortunately, as difficult as it is, we will cover this game because I want to know exactly what went wrong and why things were as bad as they were. Some of it's obvious, some of it we'll probably find out a lot better and more information from when we see the all 22 tape. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below, whether you're listening on YouTube, following on Twitter at Alex_Kozora, or following the site, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.